Blake, I'm really happy that you're here on my podcast. Welcome and thank you for being here. I was intrigued by your profile because you said that you're the daughter of the late Morty Lefkoe and that he was the creator of the Lefkoe Method. I must be honest with you, I know nothing about the Lefkoe method, but I did get really intrigued and drawn in when I understood it had something to do with limiting beliefs. It's kind of like in the same spaces I love to dive into that topic of things. So I would love for you to first introduce yourself to my listeners and talk about the Lefkoe method and what that is.
Okay, so hi, I'm Blake. Thank you for having me, Maggie. It's really great to be here. The Lefkoe method is really awesome. It's and it's so unique in that a lot of modalities are more managing systems and teaching you coping skills and remembering to reframe and right, it's a lot of more active. I have to do this and I have to remember that. I'm going to take a deep breath and I have to, the Lefkoe method is really, it's curative in that you actually get rid of the beliefs that cause your negative patterns, be
Mm.
they behavioral or emotional, and everything from procrastination to addiction to anger to just that negative self-talk, kind of negative self-esteem, imposter syndrome, I mean, depression, anything, social anxiety, um, anything that you are doing that is not serving you
Mm.
is caused by beliefs.
Mm.
The positive stuff is those, but we leave those alone.
I got you.
So, an example I like to use because that's really just a relatable. If you procrastinate
Mm.
and you have the beliefs, I'm not good enough, nothing I do is good enough, mistakes and failures are bad. If I make a mistake, I'll be rejected. When
Mm.
you sit down to a project, it's really hard to do it because you have all these limiting beliefs holding you back.
Mm.
So what we do is one by one, we go through this step-by-step process and we actually get rid of the belief. Like it goes away. And what's incredible is when you ask people to say a belief to see if they have it, there's an emotion and very often a physical sensation. So say, say I'm not worthy, say I'm not deserving, say I'm not good enough, say money is scarce,
Mm.
say relationships don't work. And they say that, and there's this like, oh, people are like, oh, I feel that in my chest, or I feel a sinking in my belly, or my neck is tighter, my head. And you go through this process and you'll see the emotion on people. There's people say it and there's like, oh, there's tears in my eyes. I feel sad. I feel angry. So, say I'm powerless. Yeah, I feel weak. I feel angry. And you go through the process and at the end, you check and you say, okay, say the belief now. And they say it and they're like, doesn't resonate at all. Like it
Mm.
doesn't, I have no emotional response. I'm like, is it still in your chest? And it's like you're actually clearing these energetic emotional blockages, these things that we literally carry in our body.
Mm.
And when those are gone, the things that are limiting you are no longer limiting you, and you're free to have freedom, really.
Yeah.
And it's incredible because it touches every aspect of your life. We think that events cause emotions.
Hmm.
He said this, therefore I'm angry. This happened, therefore I'm sad.
Right.
It's not, events don't have any inherent meaning,
Mm.
which is like kind of a crazy concept to grasp in the beginning. It's the meaning that we give events that cause our emotions.
Right.
If your child talks back to you and you go, he's being disrespectful, you feel angry. If your child talks back to you and you go, wow, isn't it amazing that I've created such a safe space and my child knows that I love them so unconditionally that they feel free to speak their mind?
Mm.
Isn't it amazing that I've raised a child who has opinions and thoughts and stands up for what they believe in? I
Mm.
did an amazing job. You're going to feel proud,
Right.
right? So it's the same event, but depending on the meaning you give it, it
Right.
depends on your emotional response.
Right. Wow, that's so interesting. I mean, what I all of this makes a lot of sense to me. I can see what it is that you're talking about, where you're getting at. What I'm curious about is what was it that led to your father kind of devoting his life to creating this method, and what are the steps even? Like you were saying that it was 5 or 6 steps, I think. Can you go a little bit further into what they are?
Yeah, so my dad actually he had a really hard childhood, like
Mm,
really traumatic, just a lot of abandonment, no money, and being shuffled around. And he was very depressed for most of his life. And his first marriage didn't work out because he was just depressed and needy and,
mm,
but so much fear of abandonment that he kind of drove his wife away. And his second marriage didn't work out, and he met my mom, and he was a consultant, and I was young, really young, and he was traveling, and he was like, I don't want to be traveling. Like, I want to be home with my daughter and my wife.
mm.
And he was on the way, and he was going into companies and telling them, this is what you need to do to fix your company. And they were like, oh my God, yes, amazing. This is what we need to do. And they didn't do it. And so he's on the plane coming home, and he's trying to understand why it is that we so often know what we should do, yet struggle to do it,
Yeah,
right? We're like, oh, information and motivation, but information and motivation don't create change because if they did, you would have already done the thing,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And he basically just had this like download and came home and told my mom and was like, I just downloaded this process, and he did it with her. And my mom was like, oh my God, this is why I was put on this planet. And she has been working with clients for 35 years.
I love that.
And he just kind of kept perfecting it and shortening it. And he came up with other processes. And unfortunately, because I grew up in a house with two people that were all about personal growth and helping people, and I was like, well, I'm going to rebel against that because that's teenagers do. And I was like, I'm just going to become a hedonist and I'm going to not look at my stuff and I'm just going to travel the world and drugs and alcohol and surfing and men and distractions and all the things.
Right.
And he kept just doing all this amazing work and just really helping people in such a profound way and working with companies and organizations. And they did a study of prison inmates, and they did like half in a halfway house and half worked with my dad, and they followed them. And the group that worked with my dad never went back to jail. And meanwhile, I just like had just no interest. And after he died, I kind of woke up one day in my late 30s, and I was a single mom and I was an alcoholic and I was bartending and I was getting out of a relationship with someone that like didn't want a family. It was like so absurd. And I was like, what am I doing with my life? And I was so fortunate to have this process at my disposal, and I found my way back to it, and it completely changed my life. I got sober, I got out of the restaurant industry, I got certified in the process, I created my own business, I became a better mother, I created a whole new friend group.
Oh,
I attracted the most incredible man that's ever walked the face of the planet into my life and started a family with him and my son, and just completely created this amazing, incredible balanced life for myself. And I'm now able to help people get unstuck and step into their authenticity and like, what do you want your life to look like and what's standing in the way? And let's get rid of those limitations so that you can live your dream life.
so what was the limitations that you found in your own life then? Like, have you, I can only imagine you've been going down this rabbit hole of your own to kind of investigate how you became so rebellious as opposed to supportive of what it is that your parents were doing. Like, what conclusions did you come to or arrive to when you were doing these reflections?
So it's not so much the process isn't reflections per se. So for example, the most common belief that people have is I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
And that drives almost every pattern, whether you're a perfectionist or an overachiever or an alcoholic or you're depressed or you procrastinate. Like it's
Mm,
just at the root of so many patterns. And so if I'm working with you, what's the pattern, right? I do this, da, da, da. Okay, where else does that show up? And then we look for the beliefs that would cause that
mm,
pattern. So we find I'm not good enough. And we start off by looking for the source. So most beliefs are formed 4, 5, 6 years old, childhood. Our parents do the best they can. It's not a blame game. They have their own baggage. They didn't go to parenting school, right? They have their own limiting beliefs
my
they're
mom
operating
just said that the other day.
in. So we find the source. And, for something like I'm not good enough, let's just imagine, your dad was really critical and everything you did, it was like, you got a B. Why didn't you get an A? And well, you didn't clean your room, your bed's not made. And you missed that goal playing soccer. And why didn't you do this? And how come this isn't done enough?
Mm,
And so as children, we don't have the brain capacity to go, gosh, my dad really has unreasonable expectations for a 5-year-old. Or
mm,
my dad feels lack, and so he's projecting that on me because he
mm,
thinks that my doing good is going to reflect his being good enough.
mm,
We go, oh, it's me.
mm.
He's being critical because I'm not good enough.
Yeah,
And once we form that belief, that becomes our truth and we live our life consistent with it.
yeah.
And it's like we're wearing I'm not good enough glasses. And so every time we don't get the job or our boyfriend breaks up with us, or anytime anything happens, we go, yep, see, there's another example. I'm not good enough.
Oh, yeah.
And not only is that how we see life, but we are energy, not just new agey hippie, but like scientifically, we are energy, we are vibration. And what our beliefs are has us vibrate at certain frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have the belief money is scarce, money is hard to get, money doesn't come to me, right? You're vibrating at that frequency and you're not attracting money because that's the frequency you're vibrating at.
Yeah.
Right. When I was an alcoholic, I was vibrating at a frequency where all I met were other alcoholics. And I was like,
Mm,
everybody drinks. That was all I met. That was what I
yeah.
was vibrating at. And when I got sober and I eliminated these beliefs, I started vibrating on a different frequency. And now nobody in my life drinks.
Yeah.
Like, any just right. You're vibrating on a different level. You're attracting different things. You find the source. Okay, dad's really critical, whatever the source is. And you
Mm,
go back and you're like, well, what else could it mean that your dad was critical besides for you're not good enough?
yeah.
And you come up with a whole list of alternative interpretations, whatever works for that person.
Mm,
My dad had unrealistic expectations. My dad thought I wasn't good enough, but he was wrong. My dad thought that, but that doesn't mean anyone else would think that. My dad's not God. He doesn't get to decide who's good enough and who's not,
mm-hmm.
right? Maybe in that house I wasn't good enough, but that doesn't mean I wouldn't be good enough anywhere else,
Right.
right? And so you come up with this whole list and you realize that what you've held as the truth your entire life is just one of many possible interpretations.
Right. Yeah.
And then you go back to that event and it feels like we saw our beliefs in the world.
Mm,
I can see it. There's examples everywhere. And you go back to one of those events and you say, can you actually see I'm not good enough? And you get people to realize that all they saw were events.
right.
And that meaning was not in the events, it's been in their mind. This whole time for all these years, they've been carrying it in their head, but it never existed out there in the world.
Right. Right.
And then you kind of get into this piece of no meaning, right? So, what does it mean that those events happen? What do I now know about you for sure? People realize, oh my gosh, and those events had consequences. Somebody hurts you if your needs are not met, right?
Yeah.
There's consequences, and those are very, very real. But it doesn't mean anything. I don't know anything for sure. And so if an event doesn't have any meaning, it can't make you feel anything.
Mm,
What caused the feeling was the meaning you gave. So you imagine going back in time and giving that event a different meaning.
right.
And imagine, you had an Auntie Blake who told you your dad has absolutely unreasonable expectations.
Yeah.
Nobody can meet these expectations. It doesn't mean anything about you. He's disappointed because he's setting himself up for disappointment. This has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
And imagine really believing that and giving those events that interpretation. And as you do, how does the feeling shift?
Right.
And people go, oh my gosh, that has nothing to do with me. Or now I feel compassion for my dad, or, whatever the situation is. And the feeling completely changes. And so you realize that the feeling was caused by the meaning you gave the events, not the events themselves. And if you had
Right.
given those events a different meaning, it would have produced a different feeling.
Right.
And if you
Yeah.
had never given those events the meaning I'm not good enough, you would have never felt I'm not good enough. And if you didn't, then you wouldn't now.
Mm-hmm.
And so by taking, there's like a couple of other little kind of nuancy steps in there, but that's the basis of the process.
Right.
And what's so cool is it totally rewires your brain. And people yawn a lot, or there's different ways of expelling energy. And so you can tell people are like, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, no, it just shows that it's working. Like, just keep yawning, it's fine. But yeah, it actually like rewires new pathways in your brain. And so when you get to the end and we check and you say it and you're like, oh no, it's gone. I'm not carrying that with me anymore. And what's amazing is, I see clients every week, and what's so different about this is it's not therapy. You don't see me every week for years.
Mm-hmm.
You come 5, 10, 15 sessions, you handle your stuff and you are on your way.
Right.
And which is a hard business model.
Yeah.
But it's amazing. And it's amazing to see people come back and you check in, how was your week? What did you
Yeah.
notice? People are like, oh my gosh, I wasn't yelling at my kid. And my husband said this thing and it didn't even trigger me. I was able to just hold space for him. And, this woman at the office didn't say hi and she didn't smile at me and I didn't take it personally. And I found out later she had a fight with her boyfriend and it had nothing to do with me. But, it's like everything just starts to shift. And so you come back and you're like, well, this felt different. When you sat down at your computer to do that thing, what did you do? Did you go on Facebook and Instagram, or were you actually able to do your project?
Right.
People are like, well, it was easier, but this thing still felt sticky. I was still really worried about making a mistake. And you're
Mm.
like, great. So you work on mistakes and failures are bad. And if I make a mistake, I'll get rejected. And they come back the next week. I did the project. It was easy. So you just keep they go back into life, and it's like a real life test.
Mm.
What's still triggering you? What's clean? What's easy? What's not? What are you attracting? Right? Are you still attracting men that lie and cheat, or are you now attracting men that are honest and caring and genuine, right? So
Right.
it's
Yeah. I mean, it's really, I like what you're saying, and I kind of am thinking about like situations in my life where I can kind of see how this aligns. And I wonder if you had a similar process, because I remember when I was going through this kind of healing journey of my own, kind of tracing back the steps to get a clearer understanding of why I was so angry at certain things, and why it made
mm,
me more angry when people weren't supportive, because I kept staying in this limbo of not being understood, which is one of the hardest things to feel as a human, I want to say, but maybe for a woman, I don't know. But I wonder if you had a similar experience where it's like you have all of this knowledge, but then it's really hard to interpret it, or not okay, interpret is not the correct word here, but to utilize what you know in real life, because you're so hardwired to act in a certain way. And I found it so hard over time to just like realize that I could feel differently about a situation that I was encountering, let's say something that would trigger jealousy in me in the past. Like when I started to be in a healthier relationship, because I'm discussing a lot of the same theories when it comes to attachment theory, when it comes to frequency, the people you attract. Attachment theory is a lot intertwined with all of that. And what I realized was that it took me way longer to actually act the right way the second time around, because all of a sudden I didn't feel bad about certain things necessarily, but I still acted on it even though I didn't feel bad. And then I had to catch myself being like, wait, hold up. Now I'm acting the way that I would act, but I don't really feel like doing this. And then it had the same consequence. And then I was like, okay, now I realize that I have to wire it differently somehow. It's like I have to catch myself before acting. Did you have a similar process where you know you should do better, but then you still are just wired differently?
So that's beliefs, right? We know, but we still, our beliefs cause our emotions, our behaviors, and our thoughts.
Right.
And so that's what, when you, sometimes I'll ask a client, I'll be like, they'll be saying something and I'm like, say I'm not worthy. And they're like, no, I know that I'm worthy because I did this and I did this and this and this. But if you have to talk yourself out of something, then on some level you believe that. And
Mm.
it's exhausting to try and make yourself change and break these old patterns just by sheer willpower, right? If you believe that you're attractive, do
Mhm.
you wake up in the morning and say affirmations? Do you have sticky notes on your refrigerator and your mirror saying you're pretty?
I don't anymore, but I used to.
No, but I'm saying, but if you really believed that you were pretty,
Right.
would
Yes.
you have to wake up and tell yourself that you're pretty? No, it's redundant.
Yes, you're right.
So if you actually believed you're worthy, you wouldn't have to justify your worth to yourself.
Yeah.
And that is exhausting.
Hmm.
People spend so much energy, so much time and thought and brain power into saying, I know I'm lovable because I know my husband loves me and I know my kids love me and I know that my mom loves me in her own way. But if you believe you're lovable, you don't have to do that,
Right.
right? If
Hmm.
you get rid of the belief mistakes and failures are bad, you're not afraid to make a mistake anymore.
So
So,
what advice would you then offer to someone who kind of like are there? They're like, but I know better. So what is the actionable step to just get to the awareness? I feel like it is because it almost sounds as though it's like you don't even know that you're doing it. It's subconscious somehow.
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like on people, if they have a belief and they'll be like, no, no, I know I'm worthy. I know I'm deserving. I know
Right.
that. And what a way to get people in touch with it and to realize is we have what's called survival strategies, right? So as a child, you believe you're not good enough.
Right.
And then you do something perfectly, you achieve, you look really pretty, somebody thinks well of you, right? One of these things happens and you get, let's say you get straight A's and your mom goes, "Oh, Maggie, good job. I'm so proud of you." And you go, "Oh, I see. The way to be good enough is to be perfect.
Mm,
The way to be good enough is to achieve." And then you go through your life, the way to be good enough is to have other people think well of me.
mm,
And this is how people pleasers and perfectionists and overachievers, this is how these patterns are formed. And we don't realize it, we're not aware of it, but we feel like we have to achieve to be good enough. We feel like our survival depends on it. And so even though you say, "Hey, I really want to work less, I really want to go to my son's soccer game this weekend, I really want to come home earlier to my family," these things come up and you're like, "Oh, I have to achieve." Right? And it's so subconscious, but you see these people, workaholics, who are trying to work less and they can't, right? And then they achieve something and there's no basking in the glory. There's no like, "Oh my gosh, look at what I did. Look at what I created. This is amazing." It's like, okay, what's next? What's next?
right.
Right? And there's nothing wrong with achieving. There's nothing wrong with striving for perfection. There's nothing wrong with having people think well of you. But when that's what runs you,
Mm,
you no longer have a choice.
right.
When you get rid of the belief I'm not good enough and the survival strategy, what makes me good enough is achieving, being perfect, having people think well of me, having men like me. You can still do those things, but now you have a choice.
Right.
It's Saturday morning, my son's soccer game. This meeting pops up. In that moment, what's more important? There's a choice, and there's no right answer. right? But people can set, like, I have boundaries. People are like, do you work on the weekends? And I don't. And if that's the only time you can work, I'm so sorry. I'll find another facilitator for you. But my weekends are for my family. That's just a boundary that I have, right? And I'm able to set that
Mm.
because I don't feel like my worth is tied to my achievements,
Yeah, that makes sense.
right? So it just
Yeah.
gives you a choice.
Hmm.
And what this process gives people is freedom.
Right.
Freedom from suffering, freedom from limitations, freedom from being stuck, freedom from thinking things have to look a certain way. And that freedom is lies in choice, right?
Right.
We grow up thinking things should be this way, life should look this way, I should do this. But should is a made up construct that doesn't exist. What do you want your life to look like? And
So
what's stopping you?
So if there is someone listening and they're like, well, I want a lot of money. I want financial stability. I want my wife to love me again, or I want a wife or a husband, whatever it might be. And you're talking about frequencies, and someone is like, frequencies, what is frequencies? And they're like, well, how do I operate on a frequency in which I attract these things that I want? How would you approach them?
Get rid of the beliefs. And the thing is we teach the Lefkoe Institute, which is my dad's company that my mom now runs. They do trainings. They teach people how to do the process.
Okay.
I've had clients work with me and be like, okay, I get this. I can do this on my own now, and then leave. And I've had clients that just are like, I love this and I love you, and just work with me until they've got nothing left to work on. I've had clients that kind of graduate, they come and they're just like, and what's crazy is even if your situation doesn't change, you change.
Right.
And so your reaction to that situation changes. Like my son's father is who he is,
Right.
and he has no interest in working on himself, right? And he is going to continue to make the life choices that he makes.
Right.
And he's going to continue to show up in our lives in the way that he does. I can't change him, but
Mm.
I can change how I engage with him. I can change the boundaries that I set with him, and I can change the beliefs about myself so that when he says mean things to me, they don't affect me.
Mm.
They used to. I used to engage and I'd be like, oh, rah, rah." And now
Right.
I'm like, got it. Anything else that you care to say? And I'm like, okay, cool. And that's it.
Hmm.
He doesn't get to live rent free in my head. He doesn't get my energy. I don't engage with him. And if no one engages, you can't fight.
Right.
Right. So I have changed that relationship profoundly, even though he's still the same.
Right.
And if you're in a relationship that is not working and you change yourself and how you show up and how you see things and how you react to things, you might get to a place where you're like, wow, this really isn't a relationship that I want to be in.
Yeah. I
Finally realize that I deserve better and I'm worthy of being treated better. And I've worked with people that have left abusive relationships.
Mm. Yeah, it took me a really long time to understand the patterns and where they were coming from. I feel like I'm I'm understanding it now. I know where it's all coming from. I'm gonna walk in the walk if that makes sense. But I remember spending 3 years in a relationship that at the end of it, I shrunk myself so dramatically that I kind of felt like and looked like a shell of myself. It was so far
Mm.
fetched from what I really wanted in my life. And I had sacrificed a great deal, but willingly, and because I'd rather be with him than to face the void of just sitting alone and asking myself, can it really get better? Like I really did not believe that it could get better. It took me so long to just be like, I hate that I'm in this situation. I hate how I feel about myself. I hate the way I think about myself. And I hate that I can't leave him. And I hate that I still want him. Like there was so many things that I just had to admit to myself that was true in order to be like, okay, but it can't get worse than this. Like I'm already unhappy. My needs are not met, and I can't be any smaller than I am right now. So I might as well do the other hard thing, which is to face the void.
Ew.
Yeah.
Good for
It took
you.
it took a really long time to
It's
even
hard.
yeah, it is really hard. And I mean, I guess ending here is that today I'm in a relationship where I feel like I can continue to expand myself. Like
Mm.
I don't
Oh,
feel like I need to be small anymore because, well, first of all, he was there kind of as a parallel person in my life, as a friend during all of that happening. And not once did this person ever ask me to change. But the closer I got to just seeing my own worth, that's when I was able to hold something like that. Because when you really don't believe that you're worthy of holding something that expanded, you continue to shrink yourself. And that's what I was doing until I was like, no, but I want what I want. I want the romance. I want the date nights. I want the flowers. I also just want to feel like I don't have to earn the love that I want. I just want to show up, and simply because I'm here, I'm worthy of it. And
yes. Yes.
but it took such a long time, and it was scary, and it was somehow like, but it was also liberating because I understood in the process that like you're saying, it was just a belief. It wasn't true. It was just what I had embodied for years, and that had been shaped from somewhere. And I realized that once it had been shaped from somewhere, then I could also change it again. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's really neat at the end of the process, at the end of the session, because we can do multiple beliefs in a session. But at the end of the session, we put you in like, it's basically like an altered state of consciousness. And you realize that if who you really are is the creator of the beliefs that create your life, and who you really are is the creator of your life. But we go through life like we're the creation. We go through life like we're the sum total of our beliefs and the
Yeah.
behavior, thoughts, and emotions that come from them,
Yeah.
right? But when you eliminate beliefs and you go, wait, there had to be an I before there could be an I'm not good enough,
Hmm.
right? There had to be an interpreter before there could be an interpretation.
Yeah.
And you realize that who you really are is that I, who you really are is that creator. And
Yeah.
you get into space where in that moment, as the creator of your life, anything is possible and you have no limitations and nothing is missing.
Yeah.
And it doesn't last, right? But just to be in that space for a couple of moments and to feel that feeling. And then when you're back out in life, you can just remember and even kind of tap into that. Oh, wait, this is not who I am,
Yeah.
right? We like, and it's which brings into the conversation of identity, which I love, is we think that who we are is our beliefs,
Yeah.
right? I am this. This is who I am. And even like the English language is so dangerous in how it's structured, right? We don't say like in Spanish, right? There's two forms of I am.
Mhm.
There's like, I'm experiencing sadness, I'm experiencing hunger, I'm experiencing thirst. Those are temporary things
Right.
that will go away. But who I am Blake. I am a woman. I am short. Like these are permanent things. They're not changing, right?
Yeah.
But in English, we don't have that. We say, I am Blake, and we also say, I am sad, and I am hungry, and I am thirsty, and I am
Right.
depressed. And
Right.
so people hold on to those things as that's who they are.
Right.
And when you hold on to that, then it becomes who you are instead of having it being, if you're sad and you let yourself feel sad, you will come out the other side. And if you suppress it, then you carry it around with you.
Right. Yeah.
And if you have it and you wallow in it, it becomes your identity, then you live in it.
Yeah.
Right. And like you said, to just sit with that uncomfortability of, wow, I'm feeling really angry right now. And that's okay. And it's not who I am. And it's going to go away. You'll
Right.
come out the other side. And where beliefs tie in is if you have the belief I'm powerless, anytime that belief gets triggered, you're going to feel angry. And when you feel
And
like you have no
powerless.
power, you get angry.
Yeah.
And so when your boss says something at work and your kid talks back and your spouse doesn't listen or somebody flips you off or cuts you off in traffic,
Mm.
all these things are triggering that I'm powerless.
Yeah.
And so that anger gets formed. And when you get rid of the belief I'm powerless, and furthermore, when people have control issues, right? I'm powerless, and what makes me powerful is having control.
Mm.
your life shows up so differently, right? That anger is gone.
Yeah.
And you're able again to respond to situations instead of to reacting to them. Because when you have a belief and you have a pattern, like you said, it's really hard to break.
Yeah. I mean, I must say the post-it notes helped for a very long time. I had a lot of affirmations all over my room, in the shower, everywhere. But I mean, I really had to get it ingrained in my mind that I was worthy and that I did deserve it and that I didn't have to earn it. It took me, I keep saying this now in this episode, I realized that yeah, it took me a really long time to just embody it. I mean, I needed to gaslight myself into believing it first with the post-it notes and the affirmation, and then I kind of yeah, I don't read them anymore. I don't have them anymore. But sometimes, like if I'm feeling some type of way, I kind of have to remind myself a little bit, and then but then just now it's just a pep talk in a mirror. Before it would be yeah, it would be maybe a process of a longer period of time. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, it's amazing that you were able to do that and get there, like good for you for going through that and putting in the time and effort and energy to shift that.
yeah.
And
Thank you.
yeah. And that's, this process, it's just a shortcut.
Mm.
It's like 15, 20 minutes. You just get rid of that I'm not worthy, and then you don't have to talk yourself out of it. You don't have to do the affirmations. You don't have
Yeah,
to. You really just I always think of it as weeds in a garden, right? And you can cut back the weed tree. You can make it smaller and
yeah,
smaller, so it's in your way less, but it's going to keep coming back. But if you get in there and you get that sucker out by the root and it's gone, it's gone.
it's gone.
There's no maintenance.
Yeah,
There's no maintenance. They don't have to go back and trim it and cut it and it
yeah,
keeps growing back. Like it's just gone.
yeah,
And that finality is just, again, it's so freeing to
yeah.
just get rid of I'm not worthy and I'm not deserving. And what makes me is this.
Hmm.
And you get to a point where you're just, and it was interesting. This woman we were working, I'm not worthy. And she was like, so when I get rid of this belief, do I now have to replace it with I am worthy? And I was like, no, you don't have to replace it with anything because now you just are, you just exist.
Right,
And like that's enough. Like in that, you're worthy and you're deserving and you're good enough and you're all the things because that limitation is no longer there.
right.
And a way that I really like to describe it, I'm looking for a piece of paper. Oh, actually, I have it here.
Nice.
So when you have a belief, you're in a box, you're stuck,
Yeah,
right? So if you believe men aren't trustworthy and I'm not safe, in this box, having a healthy, functional relationship is not possible.
right,
If you get rid of this wall, I'm not safe. And you get rid of this, men aren't trustworthy. And you get rid of this, people are out to get me. And right, when you remove the walls
mm.
of this box by eliminating those beliefs, you're now here.
They're free.
And when people have the belief I'm not safe, they're very afraid of eliminating that belief because what's going to keep them safe now?
Yeah,
But here's the thing, when you eliminate that belief, you don't have to move. You can stay right here.
right,
You don't have to date. You don't have to go leave your house. You don't have to talk to strange men. You don't have to do anything. But now you have a choice.
right,
Now you get to rely. I always tell my clients that intuition is like a muscle.
right.
And
Yeah.
the more you use it, the stronger it gets. And
Mm-hmm.
when you don't feel safe, you don't listen to that intuition because nothing is safe.
Yeah,
I don't trust you, and I don't trust you, and I don't trust you, and this is scary, right? But when you do, you now are able to start relying on your intuition and saying, does this feel safe?
yeah,
Does this person feel safe? Does this situation feel safe? And you have a choice. If you meet someone and there's a connection and you feel that they might be trustworthy, maybe you can go out to coffee with them and pursue that. It doesn't mean they're trustworthy or they're not, but now you have that option and
right.
you can leave at any time, right? It's not like you're just going to start talking to everybody. It's just putting yourself in dangerous situations. It just gives you choice where you
Yeah.
didn't have it before. It removes the limitations. It takes away that box.
Yeah. I like that image a lot. I can totally see it in my mind as I'm also kind of reflecting on the situation. I remember writing in my book that there was this moment where I just felt like I had no agency. But what
Mm.
this is the action of agency, is that like it's very easy to say that you've figured things out and that you're no longer triggered when you're also not putting yourself in a situation where you might get triggered, for instance, in a company with another man when you're dating again after heartbreak. Like it's really easy not to get triggered if you're not dating.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of I guess that's what I was trying to kind of allude to a little bit earlier when it came to like, okay, I have all of this knowledge, now apply it. That's the choice. The choice is to apply. But when I was struggling to recognize that I had agency, that action was really hard. But but it was about doing it and then do it and again, like just continuing to pause and see that I actually do get to choose. And
Mm.
I think that the choosing that you have a choice is maybe also a limiting belief that you don't have a choice. So
Totally.
yeah,
Yeah, people, people believe I'm powerless
yeah,
and people don't listen to what I have to say, or I'm invisible, or I'm not heard, or I'm not seen, or, like, and when you do this work, I mean, the shifts are so profound. I had a client who had these, money beliefs. Money doesn't come to me and money's hard to get. And it was funny because we had a session and she texted me later. We've become really good friends. And she texted me later and she was like, I left my apartment and there was like a $20 bill just like on the street outside. She was like, just immediately. And then she was selling her apartment and she found an agent. She was like, I want to sell it for this much. And he
mm,
was like, you can't ask for that. And she was like, I can, and I will, and I'll get it. And she did. Whereas before, she just would have operated out of, oh, I can't get that. Okay, well, what can I get?
yeah, exactly, yes.
She was like, no, money comes to me now. And it did. And like her whole life has been different as a result of that. Like you open up, it's not just like limitations for yourself, it's like limitations in reality.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you create that space. Like the kind of men that I used to attract with the beliefs that I had,
Mm,
right? I could have never attracted the man that I have in my life now with those
yeah,
beliefs. There wasn't the space for him.
right.
But by eliminating those beliefs and creating that space, I made space for him to show up. And I'm a person now that, right, if I had been in this relationship before, it wouldn't have worked because I would have been too needy and I would have been too this. And right, you talk jealousy and this and that. But by eliminating those beliefs, right now, I feel confident in myself and who I am.
Yeah,
And we can grow together and we can support each other in our growth and in our process, and that there's not that neediness or that jealousy or that, right, all these things
yeah,
that would have not made this relationship work, they're not there anymore
right.
because of this work. So it's operating on many levels,
Mm,
right? It's changing me, it's changing what I want, it's changing who I am and how I show up, my thoughts, my behaviors, my emotions, and it's also creating space in the world for something different
yeah,
to show up. Because you look at people that have these patterns, people that are abused as children, especially women, go on to often be in abusive
yeah.
relationships because
Familiar.
they're attracting that, if you believe I'm not worthy, I'm not deserving, I'm not lovable, I'm not safe, that's what you're attracting. You're attracting people that see that and prey on that.
Yeah,
And when you change those beliefs, when you eliminate those and you show up differently, you're going to attract people that see that too.
yeah. Yeah,
So it's just and getting to do this for a living and seeing the changes that my clients make is it's just like it's amazing. Like I feel so blessed every day. I had older woman, she was in her late 60s. And she was just a people pleaser her whole life. She was afraid to leave her house because if someone asked her to do something, she would have to do it. She couldn't say no. She had this
Oh,
old mom and she was still afraid of her mother.
oh no.
You know what I mean? It was just this,
Mm.
and every session she came back and she just like she looked different.
Yeah. Oh,
You
that's
know, and all of a sudden she was like, I'm ready for a relationship. I want to go
so.
out and I want to meet a man because I now know that like I can say no and I can have what I want. And
Yeah.
her daughter asked her to babysit, and she was like, I can't this weekend. I'm just really tired. And her daughter was like, I'm so happy you said no to me. Like, that's amazing. And she said she showed up one day and I was like, you look amazing. Like, not just energetically, but like you look amazing. And she was like, I went and I got a haircut. And for the first time in, 67 years, I told the guy what kind of haircut I wanted. And she was like, and I went out to lunch with my mom and I had a glass of wine and I ordered whatever I wanted. I didn't order what she wanted. And she said this. And I was like, no, I actually disagree. And she was like, Blake, it was so liberating. She was like, I am free in a way that I've never even imagined
Oh,
possible. And she
well,
came in one day and she was like telling me all the changes. And I was like, you're good. I don't want your money. Session's canceled. Go live your life.
yeah.
And if something comes up, come back, but just go live in
Yeah.
this freedom that you've created for yourself. It was like
Yeah.
just so beautiful to witness.
And I'm sure anyone's listening right now, knowing that they have some sort of like gut feeling that something is stuck or something is blocking them, and they feel like, shoot, I want to feel that free. I want to get that accomplishment in. I want to attract better. How can they get in contact with you, or how can they work with you, Blake?
So my website is blakelefkoe.com
Mhm.
and my email is blakelefkoe@gmail. So whichever way. The only thing you can do on my website, there's a little bit of stuff to read, is book a free call.
Okay, yeah.
Want your credit card number? No, nothing. I don't even take credit cards. It's just a free 20-minute call. Tell me where you're at, tell me what you're going through, ask me questions. It's just 20 minutes for you to understand this work better, how I can help you, and we go from there. But that's yeah, just book a free consultation. It doesn't cost you anything and it's 20 minutes of your time. It's on Zoom. You don't have to leave your house. You can do it in your pajamas.
How convenient. Then there's only really excuses, isn't it? Is there anything that we haven't talked about yet that you want to share with my listeners?
Oh gosh, there's so much. There's another process I do, which is really fun and it's short and it's like, oh my gosh, it's so liberating.
All right, what
So
is
we create these connections in our brain when primarily when we're children, but during big traumas. For example, every time I see a dog, I get scared. Every time someone yells at me, I feel fear.
Mm-hmm.
Every time someone criticizes me, I feel angry,
Mm-hmm.
right? There are these triggers, and every time they happen, this emotion gets triggered.
Right.
And that is a connection that you formed that can easily, I know it's people are gonna be like, it's not easy, but like it can be a promise that can easily be unformed,
Okay.
right? Because you didn't come into the world feeling scared when someone yelled at you, and you didn't come into the world getting angry when somebody criticized you.
Right. Yeah.
So it's a stimulus through and the belief work is like amazing and profound and the survival strategy, it just will change your life
Right.
so profoundly. But this is just this really amazing thing where it just breaks that connection. And in that moment, you're able to respond. Is this a scary dog? Are they coming at me? Do they look like they're going to attack me? Okay, fear, walk the other way, right? Is this dog just coming to like lick my fingertips?
Just say hi.
Is he coming to say hi because he sees what a beautiful person I am and just wants to smell me, right? Oh, this person's yelling at me. Wow, it doesn't have to feel good, but
Hmm.
it doesn't have to create fear,
Right.
right? And then you can
You don't have to
respond, hey,
spot yelling. Yeah.
yeah, I don't like to be yelled at. This doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
And that just that short, it's a really short process, but it is just such a game changer
Yeah.
because it allows you to respond instead of reacting.
Mm.
And nothing good comes from a reactive state
Right. No, you're right. Yeah.
ever. Nothing. I promise you.
There was a stage
And
in my relationship where I had to, like in my current relationship, I mean, where I had to just recognize that, oh, okay, now I did that thing that I'm not supposed to be doing, but I realized I was doing it now. And then just kind of be like crawling back, if you will. Not in like, not in, I'm not talking like anything dramatic, like we're broken up. I'm just saying like an argument. And I reacted in a way that was activated. It wasn't thought through.
yeah,
And having to pick up the phone and be like, I realize I did that thing now. Like, I'm sorry. I
yeah,
don't let it escalate into that. I know that you were just trying to help, but blah, 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 blah. You know, it's that process of just
totally.
acknowledging your little vulnerability there too. That like, okay, I'm trying to figure it out, but it's uncomfortable. Like, bear with me. Stay
Yeah.
patient. Yeah. But
That when you respond out of reactivity, people get angry and they get defensive.
yeah, yeah,
If you are able to stop and respond, people can hear you. It's the energy behind what you're saying. And you can even say the same thing, but
yeah,
it's the energy that you're coming from that is going to determine the response that you get.
yeah,
So operating out of reactivity, you're not going to get the response you want. Where when you're able to respond to a situation,
yeah,
it gives, like you said, it gives you agency, it gives you choice,
yeah,
and the person is going to respond to you differently, right? My son does
yeah,
something and I yell at him, that he's going to feel small, he's going to feel weak, he's going to get mad, he's going to feel powerless, so he's going to get angry. And if I'm able to sit down and be like, hey, babe, when you do this thing, it
yeah,
doesn't work because then this happens,
yeah.
you know? And then he can hear me and go, oh, okay, I get it. And then there's a conversation, there's a dialogue that can happen.
Right. Yeah.
I'm responding instead of reacting. So getting
Yeah.
rid of those triggers, nullifying those triggers
Yeah.
is just gives you so much power, gives you so much agency and choice.
It does, and I also notice how when I just come when I decide to not like ego and pride take over and actually
Mm.
acknowledge that like okay shit I did the thing. What I realize when I'm meeting coming back meeting up with like showing up with vulnerability, I get met with so much more compassion and understanding. I think the owning it part is also helping us to grow together because
Totally.
just
Yeah.
letting your ego aside and because I think some of us like we kind of we think it's hard to acknowledge when we make a mistake too, or that we mess up. And so to be able to have someone meet us in that space, I found to be incredibly liberating too. So that I don't feel like a failure every time I backtrack or whatever you want to call it. It's still safe to show up and be like, hey, I'm working on this thing and thank you for being patient.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, like that's where you can, if I make a mistake, I'll be rejected, or mistakes and
Right.
failures are bad, right? You get rid of those beliefs and you, oh, I made a mistake. Sorry, learning experience. Let's try again, right?
Yeah.
And all that connection to failure. If I X, Y, and Z, then I'm a failure. That's all beliefs. That's all
Yeah.
fear,
Yeah.
right? So if you can get rid of, well, this, that, and I'm not a failure. These are all learning experiences
Yeah.
and we're learning together. And hey, I've made a mistake and I apologize and I'm learning and thank you for holding space for me and whatever, right? Like
Yeah.
that's the makings of a great relationship. But
Yeah.
if you're constantly in fear of failing, of doing the wrong thing, it's hard to show up the way you want to because these things are driving you.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. Wow, Blake, I feel like I learned a lot talking to you today and to listening more about these methods. And I'm really hoping that a lot of people would be tempted to reach out to you and to see what your program is all about because I genuinely believe that you're helping a lot of people and that it's valuable to understand these tools and methods and to apply it to your own life because there is a lot of liberation in understanding you have agency and that your belief system is actually wired and it can be rewired and you can learn to show up differently. So thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a fun conversation.
It was great talking to you, Blake, and to learn about the Lefkoe method. I'm really grateful for your time.
Thank you so much, Maggie. Have an amazing evening.
Thank you. Thank you.